Ahoy there, everybody. I am Tessa, or FlorianEagox, and today I'm going to be telling you and giving you a demonstration of my new open source software, WeeaBlind, that I've been working on for the better part of a year now, on and off. So it's a Python program that basically enables you to dub any kind of video with subtitles to give that person basically a text-to-speech voice. So a lot of times I'll be watching like documentaries or YouTube videos, and somebody will come on screen that doesn't speak English, so they put the little subtitles on there. And if you've read on my GitHub profile or seen on my channel, I am actually blind, so reading that is a colossal pain in the tuchus, and this program kind of fixes that. So I'm going to show you that today. So you'll see on the GitHub we've actually just had our first release. If I come up here, you can see 1.0, and you can come right here and download either of these two binaries. And right now we just have Windows and Linux support, but I will show you both of those. So if you download that, you will get a zip file, and if you extract it, you will get a folder here that has the binary and this internal folder, which you don't need to worry about. So if you come over here and run the binary, it's gonna pop up with a bunch of stuff and then tell you by default, like, if your system has FFmpeg installed, because it's crucial for doing basically everything this software needs to do. And if you would like to install it, you can just go ahead and say yes, and then it will go ahead and download it for whatever Windows release you're using and add it to your environment path, at least while the software is running. But anyway, when you open it, you get this nice little welcome screen here that kind of explains some of the things I'm going to talk about in this video. And down here you can see which features are supported on your system. And this is the official binary release, so most of these features are only supported if you download the software from my GitHub, you clone the repository, and you build it yourself with the code. Because a lot of these things are not easily packageable in executable files. Like, I tried to package some of the AI tools and it got really big, so I figured this would be the best way to just release a binary. Anyway, I'm going to stop blabbering about that and kind of show you how to use the software with just the non-AI features. The first thing I'm going to show you is dubbing a YouTube video from English to a different language. So let's say I have a friend who only speaks French here, and I want to send them this CGP Grey video about how to become the Pope. This video has English dubs, like CGP Grey speaks English, but if you want to watch it in a different language, you'd basically have to read the subtitles. But with my program, you can come over here, grab the URL, take it, paste it into WeeaBlind, and then we're going to dub it into French. So instead of typing EN for English, you could also do ES for Espanol. We're going to do French for FR. So if you do that, and then you come up here and you press enter and give it a second, it's going to go ahead and download. So it'll have the title of the video and everything, and once that's downloaded, you should be able to see, if you go into the subtitles tab, we have all of his spoken content that has been extracted the subtitles. So if we hit sample, so that's what it's going to sound like. And if we want to change the voice, it's assigned by default to this sample voice over here. We can go into our configure voices tab, and we can change some of the voices here. So by default, it's using the system voices. If you have eSpeak, you can use eSpeak voices, or if you have Coqui TTS with the AI, like advanced features that I'll show you in a minute, you'll be able to use that. But for now, we're just going to use these system voices. And then you can come over to model options, and you can pick whichever one of these you want to use. By default, you only have two, which are Microsoft David and Zira. But if you want to get more, I'll show you how to do that in a second. But basically, you're going to select the one you want, and then you can preview any kind of, like, we can see what they sound like. So I'll show you one of the English ones. So if I say in here, this is a test, and then I want to sample that, you just hit sample.
This is a test.
And let's say that voice is good. If we were dubbing an English video, maybe I like that one, so I would say update voice to use that. And then if I come into subtitles again, this is what it's going to sound like when we dub the video.
Imagines que vous voulez devenir papa.
So
Chef de l'Église catholique.
as you can see, that works, but that is, we're dubbing French, so we need French. And to get more of these, you can come into your Windows settings here. So if you go to settings, and you go to time and language, and then in here to, where is it, speech, you can scroll down and download a whole bunch of voices. And so if I wanted French, I could click add language and then type in French, but I think I already have it, so that's not gonna work. But if let's say I'm dubbing to Japanese, I could type in Japanese and then download that. And these are the ones I already have downloaded. So once you do that, sometimes it'll show up in the program and sometimes it won't. If it doesn't show up, you're gonna have to restart the program, restart your computer, and then come here and click this unlock one core voices, which is going to bring up a text box warning you that you're going to need admin privileges to edit the registry and basically enable those one core voices to be used as speech API 5 voices. And if you say yes, it's going to bring up an administrator prompt somewhere on your computer, and I don't know if you can see this, but you just want to say yes, and it's going to run a little batch command. This is only on Windows, by the way. Linux users won't have this. But then you will get basically the voices you want when they show up here. So if I click the French option, and there should be multiple, like there should be a French Canadian one and like a France one, but if you click that and we go sample.
Imaginons que vous vouliez devenir pape, chef de l'Église catholique.
Now that to me sounds more French. So this video, if we want to go ahead and dub it, we can come over here, and the last thing we want to check is the ratio of the volume of CGP Gray's voice to the dubbing voice. So if we turn this all the way up, we won't hear Gray at all. If we turn this all the way down, we won't hear the dub at all. And actually, there is a feature to remove the background vocals in the Linux version, but I'll show you that in a minute. So we're just going to turn this here, so that way the dubbing person is probably going to be louder.
Night chimney. If the smoke is black, no new pope.
And that definitely sounds better. So if we go down to this run dubbing button, it will actually go ahead and dub the video with this system TTS voice and create a new video with her overlaid over CGP Grey. So we'll give that a second. And oh, this is tripping out. This text box is tripping out a little bit. But then it's going to mix the two audios that it just created together. And actually, if we come into the output folder right here, we will be able to access it. So you can see this video here dubbed, so it's done. And if we click on that, it's going to open the video.
Let's say you want to become Pope, head of the Catholic Church, and shepherd to over 1 billion faithful. What requirements must you have for the new bishops that's updated every 3 years based on who the current bishop is in
French? So we could send that to our French friend. Okay, so you can go ahead and see that I have switched over to Linux now, and I'm going to show you what the software can be like if you build it from source, as I describe in the README here. And most of these features, including like all the AI features, will work on Windows, but Python and Linux's like CUDA support for your GPU seems to work just a whole lot better out of the box. So if I go ahead and run it, you'll be able to see that in just a second. It's starting up with some of the more advanced features, so it will take a little bit longer to launch, but once it does, once again, we're here at this information screen, which just tells you kind of how to use the program, and this will tell you all the features that you have supported and installed on your virtual environment through the requirements file. So if you wanted vocal background removal, you could get Spleeter. If you wanted to have the ability to use the fancy AI voices and do voice cloning, you would want to install the TTS package, and just all that good stuff. So it'll tell you that, and you'll see that the GPU is detected because Linux's CUDA drivers just work out of the box. Once again, you can get that set up on Windows, but I do find it to be quite a pain for a whole lot of reasons, but I think I go into that in the README. Alright, so I'm going to show you the process of dubbing a video that is stored on our hard drive with the program. So if we go to choose file, instead of pasting YouTube link, I have a folder with some anime downloaded, and this anime only has an English subs, but I want to watch it in dubs. So I'll go ahead and import that into the program, and it'll take just a second. And if we go to the subtitles, just like before, you'll see that we have all of the subtitles for the episode, and it will filter them nicely. And if we go to video streams, we can pick whichever languages the video has available. So in this case, it has English, Russian, Spanish, all kind of different ones. But since we're dubbing to English, we can just use that as the default option. Also, if your video doesn't have subtitles and you're trying to like do it yourself, you can actually add them here and use that for videos that you are trying to dub. Like someone on Reddit told me that they were going to make something with like lost media, and that's a way you could do it with that. But once you have all of that set up, I'm going to show you the different AI features. So the premier text-to-speech engine these days, open source, is Coqui TTS, and it works really well. So by default, we have this VITS VCTK model downloaded, but you can download other ones. If you click and choose your language, you can do English or whatever language you want, or if you come down here to this multilingual option, you actually have a lot of great models too. So if we go and click this, XTTS supports voice cloning and all kinds of amazing features. So if we set to that, it's going to ask if you want to download the model, and this is quite a big model, so I'll show you in a minute. But it takes up about 5 gigs of space, so if you say yes, it'll go ahead and download it, but I'll show you, like I said, I'll show you that in just a minute. So I'm going to switch it back to the one that it comes with by default, and once again we can pick this VCTK vids, and that will give us a whole lot of different options for different voices. So the default one sounds like this.
I do be slapping that cheese without my mama's permission.
And there are a whole bunch of different ones of these. So if I type in, once again, like this is a test, and that.
This is a test.
So there are all kinds of different voices you can use to dub your video. Now, these sound a whole lot more human than the Speech API 5 voices or the one-core voices, but they also take a good bit more processing power to do. So all of this can be run on your CPU and can be run on Windows, but if you have a GPU, it really speeds things up. So if we go with this voice and we have this video imported, one of the next features that is really nice is this vocal isolation feature. So in the previous example with the CGP Grey video, you could still hear Grey talking in English in the background, but that's not always ideal because when we're watching a show, we want to be immersed and we just want to hear the lines spoken in our language. So if we click this remove vocals, it actually will start a process that will attempt to remove them, and if we give that just a second, it usually takes a minute because this is like a 20-minute video, you know, so it's got a lot of processing to do. We should see in just a moment down here in the command prompt. Here we go. Yep. Yeah. So these waves are written successfully. And I mean, it's like 20 minutes. The video is 20 minutes, so that took about a minute to do, which is not bad. But yeah, once again, that's where the GPU will really help out because that is a TensorFlow process that it's running. Yeah. So in the actual video, you won't get that Japanese spoken audio. And if we go into configure voices, we have our voice set up. The next feature that's really nice is in this subtitles tab. We can use diarization, which basically will look for all the different speakers in our video and create a unique voice for each speaker. So that way, basically, each time someone speaks, if they're speaking, you know, they'll have their own voice. So we go ahead and run that. And this does take a minute, especially if you have an older GPU. Like I have a GTX 1070 Ti, and this took about a minute. Okay, so that's not even that bad. And there probably are more speakers, but this is the ones that it detected, which usually means that these are the most often spoken characters. And if you come back into subtitles, you'll see these are assigned to different voices. So this character here, they have voice 3 and this character here. So it doesn't always detect which ones are correct, but it does a pretty decent job. So if we hit sample,
I know.
so that character gets a different voice than this character.
Okay. Are you alright?
So that has a different voice, and if we find speaker 1, let's see. Well, we can see what they sound like if we go here and we click on voice 1 if we want to sample that.
This is a test.
Right, so that's what that sounds like. Speaker 3 is going to sound like
This is a test.
that. And we can change them, we can switch them to different models, and in a moment I'll show you the voice cloning feature, which is really interesting. You can actually, with that, if you have everything you want, you can go ahead and click Run Dubbing, or I can show you a couple of other features. But if you click that, just like before, it's going to start up a process where it's going to go through every subtitle in the video and try to dub it accurately. And this is going to take a minute, so I'll see when that's done. That's all done, but you'll see that the video will be dropped into your output folder that the program automatically creates, and if we sort by date created, we should be able to see, here we go, so this is the dubbed version of the video, and if we open that up, we'll be able to see, so if we just click through here, we can actually see that we have our dubbed video here.
You don't want to be around me.
And you can hear that the background vocals are removed, and we have different speakers speaking for different characters. And that's just with Coqui's VTCK model. But if we wanted to use voice cloning, I'll show you that in just a moment. So we could basically make clones of those voices with any character or any voice you want, and then use that to dub over the characters. And one last thing that I forgot to mention about that is, let's say you forgot to do the mixing, and your video has TTS that's too quiet, or background vocals that are too loud, or all that. You can come here and change the mixing ratio and preview it.
Seiki, shall we go?
So it actually doesn't preview with the removed vocals. You'll still hear them, but this is just, I feel like, better for testing, because the removed vocals can be kind of quiet, but you get it wherever you want. So I think this sounds good. If we go up a little higher, maybe that might be a little too loud. Let's see.
Are you alright?
Okay, it actually doesn't sound too bad. So if you go remix video, it's just going to run that mixing operation that it does at the very end again. And now if we go into the video, we should have a different mixing ratio of the audio. So if we click here,
go back to classroom, will you?
So yeah, it does sound a little bit different, but now the show is like pretty watchable. It's good, but it can definitely get better.
Yes. We have been killed. If you had dropped a bottle.
So like it will try to match up the subtitle timing with the actual character speech, and it does okay. But sometimes they'll be a little too fast or a little too slow, and you can actually disable that feature if you come here and you say match speaking rate, and then if you go into subtitles and scroll down, you will hear that if we click sample,
that is a right decision.
It sounds different compared to if we turn it on.
That is a right decision.
And that's available with the bass, or...
That's her, hi Susie May.
Yeah, see, it's a little bit slowed down. But that is available with the release version and with the build version. I just wanted to show that off. And then the last two features, I guess last three features really, are voice cloning, and language detection, and video OCR. So I will cut and show you those as well. Okay, so the next feature I'm going to show you is the language detection feature, because a lot of times you'll be watching a video or like a documentary or something, for example this really good Vice video that has both English and Spanish spoken in it, or like the show Orange is the New Black has English, Spanish, and Russian, or lots of documentaries just have like characters or people, I guess, who speak in languages that would normally require me to read the subtitles. For example, this is an English video, but they're speaking Colombian Spanish. So if I want to dub this video, but only the non-English bits, I can actually take it and paste it into the software here, and I believe this is one of those weird videos where I think if you put nothing in the subtitles field, it's actually just going to download all the subtitles that it sees, as opposed to a specific language, because this can download like automatic subtitles, or it can download a specific language, or just like every subtitle that the video has. But that can be kind of finicky with like YouTube DLP. But anyway, if we give it a second, once we do that, if we come over to the subtitles tab and we go for run language detection, just give it a second, and it's going to use the SpeechBrain library if you have that installed in your virtual environment. It's just going to use that to go ahead and detect what language it thinks all of the different spoken words are in the video based on the subtitles. And if the video doesn't have any subtitles, you can also get the subtitles through OCR, which I'll show you last. But give that a second, and it will come up with, basically it will assign all of the language that it thinks is being spoken in the video. And this usually works pretty well. For example, it's detecting mostly English and Spanish, but sometimes for some reason it will detect a bunch of different languages, or it will just display ones that aren't even detected. But if you just click English, because this is an English video, we want to remove English from the dubbing list. So if we do that, and then we click Filter Language, give that a second, and it's just going to remove all of the English subtitles. So if we come up here, you can see that only the subtitles in Spanish remain. And if we check that, like if we go here,
the party relies on Tusai.
So
the party relies on Tusai.
La fiesta depende del tus.
So yeah, it's a Spanish speaker, and we are hearing the English dubbing of that. So once again, just like all our other examples, if you go to configure voices, you can pick whichever text-to-speech model you want and whichever language you're trying to dub to. So for example, we're dubbing this video in English, but if you had subtitles for another language, or you wanted to automatically dub to another language with the automatic translate that YouTube has, you could do that. But we're just dubbing to English with this, and these settings are fine. This guy's voice doesn't bother me at all. So if we go down here to the mixing, we can just preview the mix. So let's see.
To provide a product.
We'll turn it up a little more.
What we managed to do here.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about the Spanish or the Russian being spoken definitely adds something to the scene, even if we are getting a dub. So if we just do that, you don't have to click this yet, but if we go to run dubbing, and this is a 20-minute video, so once again it can take a few minutes, but it will go ahead and dub the video, only dubbing over the Spanish parts, not the English parts. So that way we'll still get the English narrator, but the Spanish will be accessible. After that video is finished dubbing, we can go into our output folder once again, and if we click on it, we'll see that the English parts remain spoken only in English by the original video. But if we skip to a part that definitely is not English, we will hear the dub over it. So if we go somewhere like here,
I'm feeling a bit.
So that's still English, but here we go. This is Spanish.
What are you guys doing right now?
This is the preparation.
Okay. Can you just explain to me?
So sometimes it'll accidentally get the English versions, but most of the time, yeah, see, it will dub over the Spanish.
That's her.
And if we,
Is
yeah,
all
so
basically just a
once
very
again, the
clever
English speaker is speaking in English, and the Spanish speaker is dubbed,
marketing ploy.
The pink color is
which I think actually works pretty well for videos like this where you have multiple speakers. And obviously it still needs some work with the language filtering, but I think for what it is now, it's pretty good. Now I'm going to show you the voice cloning features of the software. So I initially implemented this because I wanted to dub Season 2 of that anime with the voice actors from Season 1, seeing as it was never going to receive a proper dub. and we can sort of do that. So I'm going to import a video file of another show, just to kind of show you how the clones are created. So I have an episode of the show Full Metal Alchemist right here, and what you do is basically give it a second, wait for that to load in, make sure you have the correct audio and subtitle stream selected here. It says Japanese, but it's actually an English stream. So if we go into here, so we can test to see who's speaking in this clip, I can tell you that it's Al in this clip.
Do you really think we're going to find the Philosopher's Stone in a rundown town like this?
Yeah, so that definitely sounds like Al, and that's not who we want. But this is Ed right here.
Looking around, it's hard to believe they ever produced much gold at all.
So we can scroll down. Let's see.
Which is why they're all the more likely to be developing a
So
philosophy.
if we want to clone a clip of Ed speaking, basically we want to just keep scrolling down and select a good few amount of times that this character spoke. So that's definitely Ed again. Let's see, who's this?
They've got plenty of reason to want to
so that's Ed. So we'll select it.
Only do that with the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah. So we're just going to keep selecting clips until we have maybe about a minute of footage selected. You might not even need that. XTTS can run on a very limited amount of speech.
What, with this being a former gold mining
town,
it would...
Yeah, so we have a few clips here. I don't know how long that is, but hopefully it'll be a good amount. And what we'll do is we'll say export clone. And what this will do is it will take the, basically it will take the audio clips that we selected and put them into a WAV file. And soon it'll put all of the training data that you need for RVC. So I've already made a couple Edward clones, and I'll just call this one Ed3, just to see if it's any better. So yeah, basically we'll just save that clone. And now, in our Configure Voices tab, if we were going to dub a different show, for example, we could open up another episode of Psyche, and perhaps we could dub the entire show using Ed's voice, or we could dub an individual character using Ed's voice if we were to run Diarization. But for now, we're just going to play with it. We're not actually going to dub with it, because it would take quite a while. But if you have your TTS engine set to Coqui TTS, you want to change your language. Well, there are two ways to do it. One of them is with voice conversion, which is a technology built into Coqui that basically enables you to convert any TTS voice to another. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but basically you can use a clone sample to try to make the source voice sound a little bit more like your target clone voice. The Configure Voices tab, if we go to Multilingual, and then we choose the model that we want. So several of these support clones, such as this multi-data set. I think Fairsec does, Bark does, your TTS does, but XTTS is really, really good. So if we click that, normally it'll download. It'll take about like 5 minutes to download, because it's quite a large download. And you'll have to come over here into your terminal and just say yes to accepting some kind of EULA. But if you give it a second, it will load up with XTTS, and then we can choose basically a sample that we want to use. So in my case, I went ahead and chose that Ed3 that we made here. And I've made a couple other Ed clones, like I said, but we'll test this one out, so let's see what it sounds like. So, using XTTS and cloning does take a significantly longer amount of time, but it's...
I do be slurping that cheese without my mama's permission.
See, that sounds pretty goddamn close to Edward Elric. And I should note that I, of course, don't have permission from Vic Mananga to use this as, like, something that I would be, you know, like, distributing publicly. Like, distributing these episodes publicly with voices cloned from people that you don't have the consent of. You shouldn't do that. That is not a great idea. But if you wanted to make a clone of your own voice, for example, or you wanted to make a clone of a voice of a video of one of your friends, you could totally do that, and that'd be fine if if you have permission. But for your own personal purposes, I don't see anything wrong with using these to dub shows for yourself. For example, I've made like David Attenborough clones, Sonic clones, Squidward clones, just all kind of different voices that I think it's fine to use for your own personal reasons or parody or you know stuff like that. But if you're trying to use this commercially to distribute these voices, I really would not recommend doing that. You also have the option to use the voice conversion model, which can actually be used on any of these. Like you could use this with the VITS version we showed earlier, but this will basically try to convert the source audio into the target voice no matter what model you're using, and sometimes it sounds better with XTTS, but most of the time it doesn't. Basically, you can take this voice that we have set up here and you can use it to dub any video that you want or any show that you want. If you were using Diarization, you could assign that voice, like I said, to individual speakers or characters in the show, but in this case, since we don't have that set up, you could just dub an entire video with that voice. So yeah, that's the voice cloning feature. The final feature that I'm going to show off for you is the video OCR function. So sometimes you'll get videos that just plain don't have any kind of like subtitles that are encoded into the video. Instead, they're like hard subtitles like this. And I still want to be able to dub these. For example, I was playing the Tekken 8 game and like the story mode, and these cutscenes are just absolutely cuckoo bananas, but they're mostly in Japanese, so I couldn't really enjoy them because there wasn't really a way to pause them in the game, and even still watching them on YouTube is just a pain to have to pause and read the subtitles. TikToks or whatever, you'll come across videos that are just text, and these can be very difficult to watch because the text comes on screen really fast and then it goes away, so you have to constantly pause and zoom in, and I miss a ton of stuff like that. But with this video OCR feature, if I copy the link here and I go into my program and we paste it in here, and it will go ahead and download the video, and it's already downloaded, so it won't take too long. But if we go to the list streams tab, you can see this video doesn't have any kind of subtitles because it's just audio. It's just music, but the video has all kinds of text on it. So if I click like, I guess the sound is off on my computer, but she doesn't speak in this video. She just some of her videos she speaks, but this one is just text. So if we want to dub that, oh, that's why. What we can do is come into here and go ahead and go extract subs with OCR. And this can take a long time for longer videos or for higher resolution videos, because basically what it'll do is it'll go through and run every frame, every n number of frames through Tesseract OCR to look for the text, and it does an okay job. Like, we got rating my pet rats hold different foods or different tools. For some reason, it's showing the slashes in between the characters, and this sometimes really affects the OCR. It tries to filter out all the junk, but it's not always successful with that, and that's something I'm working on to be more useful in the future. But if we have that and we click run dubbing, give it a second, it's going to go through. Yeah, some of these are really junky, but it's trying its best, and this feature is definitely going to get better as I learn more about OCR and using Tesseract, and possibly doing some pull requests to the video OCR library. But if we just give that a second, we should see that the video will be dubbed. And I also tried this for the cutscenes for Tekken 8, because those are all in Japanese and there's no subtitle that aren't burned in. So like a lot of videos just have subtitles that are burned in instead of like part of the actual SRT format or VTT or whatever. And this is really useful for that. for videos that just have subs, but they're not, you know, accessible to just straight up dub. But anyway, so that's done, and we can check it out here. And it should be, well, it should be reading out. I don't know what it's doing, actually. Oh, here we go. So it's getting some of it. It's definitely reading some of these words. But yeah, it still needs a lot of work. But that feature is experimental and available to play with if you want to. But anyway, that's most of the features of my new software, WeeaBlind. Hopefully you enjoyed what I have to show you. If you would like to check it out yourself, go ahead and download either the binary release to use the basic features, or like I said before, you can download the advanced features and build the software yourself with Python 3.10 and install all of that in a virtual environment. Of course, if you do try it, please let me know how it goes. I'll be posting more sample examples on the README, and if you have any bugs or want to contribute, feel free to report them as issues, or send pull requests, or hit me up and say you want this feature or you have this bug, and we'll work through it. But anyway, yeah, thank you for checking out my software, and have a lovely day, buckaroos.